Hi everyone, welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show with Diana and Aage. And this is Diana in Germany and Aage is in the southwest of the United States. Are you there, Aage?
Yes, I am. I am right here.
Today we are going to have an interesting show which will make us all think. We will discuss why most prayers seems to go unanswered and why most people do not follow through on their New Year's resolutions. And what can we do to turn the things around and make things work better for us? Well, Agi, you are the guest tonight. So, where do you want to start here?
Well, yeah, this is a little different. When we have no guests, then I'll just grab a subject and talk on it for an hour, and we'll see what happens. We'll try to make it as interesting as possible. But this subject about why most prayers go unanswered and why that most people kind of fail in their New Year's resolution, that is something that I think we need to visit for a little bit.
Right.
See, prayers, it is an elusive thing, and we don't even know what it is, kind of. And we think we know what it is, but no, most of us are way off the mark. And of course, then again, why would that be? Well, it's because we have not been taught how to do it. There is a science behind that. It's called spiritual science. And part of that can be very well explained through quantum physics.
Right.
And there are two reasons why most people are totally ignorant about prayer. First of all, religion, they did not teach it because they do not know how to pray. And if they did know how, they sure wouldn't tell you because that would take away from their power and their purse. In order for the power structure to be able to rule and control, you know what they have to do? They got to make sure the masses are ignorant. And we know all that. So if we are looking at this from outside looking in, then look at it like before we get into the science of prayer, though, I like to speak just a little bit to the atheists. And if you are an atheist, I'm sure that in the past you have probably prided yourself in saying something like, I'll believe it when I see it, or I don't believe in nothing. Well, yes, you do. You believe in what you can see. And you believe in science. You believe in Newtonian physics. Let me give you something to think about.
Okay.
I'm a hypnotist, and if you spent an hour with me, you sat down in a comfortable chair, and I would talk to you for about 20, 30, 40 minutes and put you into a deep hypnotic sleep. Everything you believe could come apart on you. I could tell you that you would, after you wake up, you would see an African cheetah standing next to your chair in the room with you. And when you woke up, if I did my job right, you would see that African cheetah standing right next to you. You could reach out and touch the fur on the cheetah, and it will feel totally solid. You would feel the texture, and the cheetah could lick your hand, and it would feel wet to you, and also very sharp and rasp, because that's how the tongue of the cheetah is. To you, this cheetah would be very real, because you could see it. The only thing is that I would not be able to see it because it's not there. After I took you out of that hypnotic trance, you would still be able to remember the cheetah. And I could put a post-hypnotic command into that mind of yours so you would believe that was totally real and a real memory.
Right.
Now, this would be very confusing. Now, let me ask you this. After hearing all that, Now what do you believe? The mind is a very powerful thing, and science has found that we live in a mind-created universe. The proof of this is in the science. Explanations to this you will find in my book. I gotta mention this so you can look it up later on if you have the book, or you should get it. The book's called Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. As an example, there is a doctor, Larry Dossey. He reviewed 60-some medical studies proving the effects of prayer can be measured and have a significant effect on healing. He wrote the book called Healing Words and Prayer is Good Medicine. He found that prayer is not something we do. It is something we are. There's another doctor. His name is, what is his name? Leonard Laskell. And he did some experiments with people who had incurable diseases. He found that in people with identical medical conditions, he had a decrease of 39% in size of cancer tumors when people were prayed over, compared to people that were not. Well, they were still using this method we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
See, remember, you do not draw to you what you want. You draw to you what you are. Because you and what you want are one within that unified field in this mind-created universe. The energy that you are goes along with what you want when it enters that unified field. So Christian also have they have a concept they call laying of hands, and it can be very powerful. It is not the hands that are important. It is the mind behind the hands, and how well the mind is able to unclutter itself, get rid of all unwanted thoughts, and make understandable contact with the universal consciousness and that soup of creation where everything past, present, and future is just sitting there ready for us to interact with and draw on. And when it comes to this mind behind it all, that is the real power of the mind. And I know, Diana, you had something that you wanted to let us know on that. There were some interesting things you had come across.
Yes, because talking about the power of the mind, it's Bruce Lipton who always keeps reminding us about a very significant experiment that was done in university. The students were under hypnosis and they were told like that, now I will burn your hand with a cigarette. Then they touched the hand from the students with finger, and amazingly, on the exactly point where the student's hand was touched by a finger, there were blisters formed suddenly as if they had really been burnt by a cigarette. And why this is important for the science? Because it's the proof that belief overrides the reality. Because the students were hypnotized to believe that a cigarette is burning their hands, the belief alone was strong enough to change the reality. So the blisters were created by thought alone. So we can see here the power of our mind. This is really amazingly. And there is also another experiment mentioned by Joe Dispenza in his book, You Are the Placebo. It is about very famous experiment that was done in September 1981, where a group of 8 men between 70 and 80 years old, they were brought in a monastery somewhere in New Hampshire to take part in a 5-day retreat where they were asked to pretend they were younger, about 20 to 22 years younger than they were at that time. In that monastery, everything was prepared to look like they were living in 1959, with TV shows from that time, newspaper, recordings from music from that time, like Nat King Cole, and a lot of other factors that helped them to recreate an earlier age. And after each day from these 5 days, the researchers took several measurements and compared to those taken before the start of this study. And amazingly, the bodies of the men were younger. They discovered improvement in height, weight, and gait only in 5 days. The men grew taller, and their joints became more flexible, and their fingers' length grew as their arthritis diminished. Their memory was much sharper, and they scored better tests of mental cognition. So they literally become younger in those 5 days, right in front of the researcher eyes. So we see that there are a lot of experiments, of course, but we cannot mention all of them. But what do you think about that, Aage?
Oh, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
When you think about this, what they believe and what they see and what they experience override the physical condition.
Right.
Would that tell us something? Maybe we should start thinking a little younger.
Yeah.
Let's get some younger friends. Let's start, I don't know where to go with this one, but it is so powerful when you start thinking young like that. Most of my friends are younger. I have very few people that I associate with that are older than me, and that might help some. But we still need to, of course, think about the physical health of the body too. But this alone, if we start thinking like that, it has a tremendous effect. So really dwell on this a little bit and think on it. Yeah. And we're thinking about that. So then, why does not prayer work more often? Let me give you something to think about. Again, science has found that energy and matter cannot be created from nothing. And I mentioned this on other shows, and it is so important that we think about it. So I'm going to mention it again. Nothing can be created from nothing. We think we know that. And then again, we have some of the sharpest people on the planet, like Professor Stephen Hawking at Cambridge University in England and most other theoretical physicists. They say that their equations of quantum physics on the blackboard show that this whole universe was created from nothing. If this universe was created from nothing, and everything in this universe was created from nothing, and you are in this universe created from nothing, what are you? And of course, I will pause a little bit on purpose here because I want you to think. See, this is something that once we dwell on it, take this little quote with you into meditation and think on it. Ask before you go into meditation and ask after and see what comes to you. Because this is spiritual truth. There's a huge difference between religion and spiritual truth. Yeah, see, they have found that this whole thing we call our universe and existence is a mind-created illusion inside of a mind-created universe. It is almost identical to what we call a hologram.
Yeah.
A hologram is made of physical, mental, and spiritual thought. And we are part of it. We are one with it. This all connected universal soup of creation is all of what we are and is around us. It is some also have some similarities with a dream. Just stay with me here. This is important so we can understand how we can make prayers work better. If we do not understand the game and the rules of the game, how in the world can we play or even win? Prayer, see, it's a form of manifestation. But most people are using the wrong language. With other words, we're not doing it right. Once we have thought of something we like to happen, and using the right language, we create or we summons something that we already are part of. See, where does prayers go? Does it stay in the physical? No. Does it stay in the head or just traveling through the air as words?
No.
No, don't do that either. The physical is only an artificially created sensation for the mind to interpret and have experiences from. Prayer is sent into a spiritual or an existence outside of the physical. The quantum, all-encompassing, self-aware, universal consciousness is where it is going. The quantum, all-encompassing, self-aware, universal consciousness.
Okay.
And there is a language that is used there. The language is not English, it's not German, Bulgarian, not even Norwegian, Chinese, or any other language. It is a language of emotion, intention, vivid, colorful images, gratitude, love, and things like that. It is a language of the mind, not of the voice box. See, we should learn from history too. The only one that I know of who has actually taught people how to pray was Moses. Moses wrote 12 books, or at least some of them are attributed to him. In the old Bible I had in Norway, we had the books of Moses, number 1, 2, and 3 was part of the Bible. But of course there was some powerful things in there, so they had to take that out of there because people would start to, gain a little too much understanding of what religion was, and that wasn't helpful for the religion.
Exactly.
Yeah, now I have 10 of those books. And I believe it is in the 9th book of Moses where he explains how to pray and get results every time. And I'm going to list those things to you here. In fact, I wrote it down so I wouldn't screw it up. 1. Do not flaunt or express your prayers among people who mock you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Number 2. Go into your chamber. Now that don't mean go in the closet and close the door. It means be alone in your mind. Unclutter your mind so it's open for communication with the spiritual. Number 3, know what you want. Well, if you don't know what you want, how could the universe know what you want? Though there are things that you might get, because in some ways the universe knows what you need, and it may give you things according to those lines. But if you want something specific, then you need to go to number 4. See it in your heart. And also then, remember back then, mind and heart meant the same thing. It used the same word. And this see it in your heart, that means visualizing it.
Yeah, right.
And number 5, speak it aloud with emotions so the tears flow. Here we get to that concept of emotion is the carrier of thought.
Yeah.
And number 6, know it is yours. In other words, don't waffle or think that I don't think that'll happen. Well, no, those thoughts must never enter your mind. Keep it positive. Know it is yours. And then the last one, and 7, leave it to God. Let it go, unattached. Know it will happen. Now, there are barriers in the way of this language of the mind. The one is that our mind is usually going 90 miles an hour. In my case, it was 400 miles an hour. You remember, I'm a pilot. We must quiet the mind to develop alpha brain waves. Alpha brain waves is the best carrier wave to embed visualized images and messages onto.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem from the people, because we cannot quiet our minds. Maybe can you tell how?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. There is, most people have a problem, even in meditation. I have known people that meditated for 20 years and they still did not know how to quiet the mind.
Yeah.
But there are some tricks to it. There's a couple of tricks. One of them we taught in the Zox Pro training course, and the other one is an old yogic trick. Let me tell you the old yogic trick first. And that is, sit still in a chair or wherever you meditate, look straight ahead, find a spot on the wall or something in front of you across the room. Or not too far away, but something that you can discern in shape. And then cross your eyes just a little bit. Cross them just a little bit so that now there's 2 spots out there. And they're close to each other. Don't cross it so much that it hurts. But when you cross your eyes like that, the mind is busy doing something that does not take thought to do.
Okay.
The subconscious mind is constantly crossing the eyes, so the subconscious mind is busy. It is not out there grabbing onto subconscious mind programs and thoughts and bringing them up to conscious understanding so that you clutter the mind anymore. It is busy doing this one thing of crossing your eyes to see 2 spots out there. When you try that in meditation, your mind dulls and it goes away. And then you can close your eyes. You can still keep your eyes crossed a little bit behind closed eyelids. This is very effective, and try it and you're going to see it's going to make a difference. Then the other method of slowing down the mind to the point where it goes away on you is what Albert Einstein did. Albert Einstein told nobody about this. It was found in his papers, in his notes after he died. What he did is that whenever he wanted concentration, and he was the expert on it, he was clocked at, I think it was 51 minutes of total concentration on one subject without any outside thought popping in on him. Now that's phenomenal. I haven't even gotten about half of that. So what we do there, what they talk about in the Zox Pro training course, is whenever you concentrate on something and a new and different unwanted thought pop in on you, say in your mind, you can say it quiet or you can say it loud if you're by yourself, it don't matter. Say it like, get out of here. Go away. I will never be distracted like this again. And then go right back to what you were concentrating on. When the next thought sneak up on you, say, push it away, and I will never be distracted like that again. It takes a little while to get used to this one because you got to condition the mind for it. But when you've done it for a few days, just do it for a few days or a week or so or 2 or 3 or whatever it takes, it becomes very effective. Those unwanted thoughts does not sneak up on you anymore. You are able to hold that concentration.
Right.
And those are the two methods that I know about. And now, the constant chatter and private conversations in your mind, that will block the channel into the subconscious and the superconscious mind and the universal mind. Because there's a flow going from the universal mind to the superconscious mind, which is basically empty. It's kind of like a connection device. And then it goes into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind hands it up to you to conscious understanding in your conscious mind. And all the private conversations in our head, they will also block images, knowledge, and impressions coming back from the universal mind. And it will block it from reaching all the way up into conscious understanding. So we got to be concerned about this and practice those methods so you can quiet the mind, because then you can get the flow back and forth. Now, prayer and manifestation work best when we are in meditation, or another word for it is quiet contemplation, or the Bible speak of it as be still. I must say though, if you are getting everything you pray for, don't change a thing. You know the saying? If it works, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So just remember that. If you're getting everything you want, if you have a good day every day, don't change a thing. Now, to be effective at prayer and manifestation, we should consider several things. Prayer is based on universal law. So don't change the rules. Remember what we talked about here just a little while ago.
Yeah.
A prayer is not a getting thing, it's a giving thing. Never pray for yourself only. And I'm going to say that again. Never pray for yourself only. Put other people in it to enjoy what you are asking for. It should be at least 3 to 4 people enjoying the rewards of what you are asking for. And then feel the love for what you are asking, and feel the love from the people actually that are enjoying it with you. Visualize in vivid color what you're asking for. And then do not be a beggar. After you are done with what you're asking for, believe it is done and you already have it. Between prayers, live in the future with it, as you are visualizing that you already have it.
So we have to believe in a future that didn't happen yet as being already fulfilled, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Believe it is there in the future because you create it in the future. In my book, I speak very extensively on how to create that picture in the future and how to create that timeline to it. So you may want to look at that. Now, be focused on your intention of doing what you can to do to help happen in the future. but some effort behind it is very important. You gotta do in the physical, you gotta do and help to make it happen, because the spiritual part of it is non-physical, and it has a funnel, a place, or a way to get into the physical, but it comes through you. So some effort may not be necessary, but it shows the universal consciousness, which is running the show behind the scenes, that you are committed to put out effort to obtain what you ask for, so you can share it with the world. And this is something that could take some thought. You also should feel the gratitude and be thankful for having it. Even if you still don't have it, feel the grateful gratitude for having it. And do not be afraid to say it. Speak to yourself. I thank you for what I have received. I thank you for what I have. I thank you for what I will have. Those are important words.
Yes, I think it's also very important to elevate our emotional state, to feel the emotion related to this happiness that we are searching for.
Yeah, that has to be embedded in everything that we do when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
We got to have emotion, because that's the carrier of thought.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And now any prayer that you repeat 3 or 4 or 10 or 15, 20 times a day may look like you're kind of begging and you don't really believe it will happen. You think that more is better. Well, it may be, but don't look like a beggar either. Have conviction in what you do. When you're done with any prayer or manifestation, tell yourself, so be it. It has happened. And visualize it many times. You can just visualize what you're looking for many times during the day, that, without necessarily a prayer. Just think of it and visualize yourself in it. And do that. I do that in a ritual that I do in the morning. I do it in the evening. I do it just twice a day. But I think about things all throughout the day, that things that I want to have happening in the future. Now, in all prayer, there is a wild card. You may, before you were born, you may have made arrangements and agreements to do and go through or have happen to you something. And there is very difficult to get around those things. Oh yeah, you made some arrangements for things that you were going to do and have happened to you. These arrangements are not changed or rearranged in the physical very easily, but you, actually your mind, have to go out of the physical to enter the quantum existence to change that. All major life experiences are mostly prearranged. Your occupation, yeah?
We should have a free will somewhere.
Yes, we do. We do have free will, but it's not within the physical. It is done within thought. We have free will within thought, outside of the physical, in the quantum existence. That's where the free will is. So if we are just saying to ourselves, well, I want this to happen, and then don't think any deeper on it, it's probably not going to happen. You got to enter into that quantum mind in order to make things happen outside of the physical. And because that's where it all is anyway, thinking back on this thing that we are living a hologram, there is really nothing here except the perception of what we see and experience and do. So just think about that. And some of the things that happens to us, who we're going to marry, accidents possibly, what we're going to do for occupation, and so the major things, they are usually things that we agreed to or created ourselves outside of the physical. How they play out, that is often our doing. If you can get the same learning experience without going through some of that negative garbage that usually happens at least one time in our life, then we can change the experience altogether so it may not happen. You can learn from other people's bad experiences. See what they are going through and learn from what they feel. That way, we may not necessarily have to go through the same thing. So, everything important is happening outside of the physical, is being played out in the physical. So that actually kind of tells us why we should be very compassionate with people that is going through tough times. Talk with them. Join their mind and try to understand their conditions. It helps them and it really helps you. Be more spirit and you will be more human. Now, to be more human, it comes to you because you have become more spirit. We all have the capacity to graduate from this school we are enrolled in here called our life. We can do this time around. We do not necessarily have to come back and do things over again. All we have to do is to accomplish some of the things that we came here for. When we graduate, we don't have to come back and do this physical experience again. No more incarnations. Or for some people, they would call it no more incarcerations. For some anyway. Spiritual understanding of who we are, why we are here, what the universe is, what the soul is, and where is our home. That is key, absolute key to no longer needing physical experiences. So to learn more about mysteries of the universe and some of these things that we've been talking about, I will again give you the title of this book. That's Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. You can go to my website and you'll find it, and you can also go to Amazon.com and you'll find it there too. Just put my name in there and search and you'll find it. Now, there is a huge difference between religion and spirituality.
All right.
And very few people really understand the difference, because a lot of the masses, all they've had is religion. Because religion called themselves spiritual or spirituality. And the question is also, do we have to be religious or spiritual or be a spiritual person to pray? No. Look at it. Atheists, they have good things happening in their life too. And that comes from how they think and what they do, what they believe in. And we got to remember, the language of the spiritual world is not the one that we are talking every day. Maybe let's go into these New Year's resolutions a little bit. I think that would be a good thing. Did you make your New Year's resolutions, Diana?
No.
Well, I have some things that I, reinforce and things like that. So, yeah, I could say I probably did somewhat. But when you think about it, New Year's resolutions, we got to make them deeper than just on the surface. It is not, shouldn't just be in your conscious mind. It's got to reach into the subconscious mind, which transfers it out to the superconscious mind and into the universal mind where the magic is. That's where creations happen. In the physical, though, we got to do our part. And our part is not to say, okay, I'm going to do this on that, and then in the 2nd of January, we quit doing it. That's not quite the way it should work. Because it takes 21 days of doing something constant to change a habit. 21 days minimum. After 21 days, you pretty much have it licked.
Okay.
Yeah, and then put some thought into it. Visualize it every day. If it goes to quit smoking, visualize yourself without cigarettes anywhere in the house, anywhere in your pocket. You can visualize looking around, don't see it anywhere. And put some effort into it. Or in case of cigarettes, maybe lack of effort. Don't go to the stores that sell cigarettes. Pick another one. And then there's something I know that is very important. I know you've done some of this, Diana, that you put reminders everywhere. Because even if you don't see them, if you have those reminders around you, the subconscious mind sees it and it reacts to it.
Yeah, that's true.
And make it all positive. Like this phrase, like, I will not smoke anymore. That is not a positive enforcement. The word not overpowers everything else.
So how should we say?
You don't smoke, Diana.
No, but I mean, the one.
Yeah. We gotta find our own words. We gotta make them positive, but it should be something that rolls off the tongue when we say it. If we say something that is awkward to the way that we think, it is not working as well. We have to use our vocabulary and our emotion in it. So you can just, when it comes to smoking, you can just get rid of it all and then never think about it again. Okay. If it comes back, if it sneaks into your mind, oh, that would be nice with a cigarette, then just say the same thing. I will not be distracted like this anymore. Then the thought on cigarettes will go away. And it takes effort because it's not that easy to do. See, habits are not changed in the conscious mind, but it is changed in the subconscious mind. That's where the change is. And the change is transferred into the superconscious and the universal mind where it sticks. And then it is brought back. Here is something that I did when it comes to, well, that can work for habits and absolutely everything. When I came to the United States, I had a little bit of a language problem because most people have figured it out by now that American language and English is not the same language. I knew English fairly well, but not the American language. And I used something I called, when I came, I went to flight school. And coming from the farm, going to flight school with all the technical information that I needed to learn there, that was difficult. So what I did, I read a chapter in a book. I read it on a tape recorder. This had a closed loop on it. It was called sleep tapes. And when I started the tape recorder, it ran for all night while I slept. I kept it at a low volume, so I was listening to it while I slept. And I used a form of self-hypnosis when I went in to sleep. So I accepted that, and it became part of my vocabulary, part of my knowledge, part of my memory. And this, when you run things at night like that while you sleep, because remember, when you sleep, your brainwave patterns are in the deep alpha or even maybe below there into theta. So it is accepted by the mind directly into the subconscious mind. This helped me phenomenally well at flight school. It took me 1 year to go through and get all the certificates and ratings I did. Of course, a lot of other people did that too, but for me, with that language barrier and my background, I thought that was actually pretty good, because it's very hectic. It's a lot of information crammed into a short period of time, and of course, the flying part of it, that was interesting too. And yeah, go ahead.
I can imagine it was very difficult, the information and everything.
Oh yeah. And I would suggest that listen to this show a couple of times more so you can get the vocabulary, and take some notes when you go through it. I said earlier that there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yes.
Well, there is a huge difference, but there are some similarities. I think, though, that a lot of the holy books, they don't necessarily lie to the people, but they just use the language in different terms that we are not used to knowing about, because it's a different language. There's a religious language. And let's say I have read part of the Quran. I couldn't stomach all of it, so I read at least half of it. But I also read the Bible. I read some of the Veda and some of the other, I've studied them. So I have a pretty good understanding. Could it be that we are spiritual beings with unlimited creative power, and the kingdom of heaven is within us, and we are gods? Could that be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it actually could. Bible says so. Look in Luke 17:21. It says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It doesn't say that it's above you, up in the sky anywhere. It says it is within you.
Yes.
And then check out Psalms 82:6, where it says, you are gods. You'll find it in John's somewhere too. I don't exactly remember where it was there. See, the thing is that the word God, we don't even know what it is. The UN investigation, they found there's 3,000 religions, and every one of them has a God, or one or more. And the written Sumerian tablets, they explain what God is. Because they're saying that the Sumerian language, it has the word Ga'ad, which means God in our language, but it meant, in the Sumerian language, the word God meant great leader.
Okay.
So when the Sumerian king told the people that we are your gods, that made perfect sense. They are their great leader. They wanted to be worshipped. They were a little stuck up, I guess, so they needed to be worshipped. That they were right. The worship means to hold in high regard or reverence. So now it means something different. See, God was given a meaning he was never meant to have. Some things, also with the word angel, in the Sumerian language, in cuneiform, the word angel, or angel, means messenger. So when they speak of an angel from God came and talked to me and gave me a message, I have no problem with that. And messengers from our great leader came and gave me a message. That makes perfect sense. See, in the holy books, they talk about in a different context. They are not talking in the context that it really originally meant. So we got to kind of look at the history of things in order to learn more. See, like we believe that heaven is above us. No, it isn't. It is within our hearts. And the reason that we are told that it's above us is because the Sumerian gods, the great leaders, they came in their spacecraft from above. And it is all written out in the Sumerian tablets. Now, they had bodies just like us. They were a little taller, 9 to 12 feet tall, but they were just like us because they created us. The written records of that is very clear. It is written not just one place, but several places. In different places throughout the Middle East, they found this description of how they came to earth and how they created us as a servant, a slave. And they're actually using the same language in the Bible. Of course, they contributed to their God, but the same language is there. The method in the Sumerian tablet explains how they created man sounds just like gene splicing. Yeah, gene splicing is the word for it. It speaks of the two twisted ropes of life being taken apart, and some of the substance of the creature they started with was removed. And the gods, the great leaders, they gave of their own substance, but they withheld some of the qualities of the gods, like long life, knowing what is in the other's mind, telepathy, and other things. So when we say that God, you heard the saying that God doesn't create any junk? Yeah, he did. We have all kinds of junk DNA in us, and that was the stuff that they took out. But a part of it is still there. If we have it, if we get it connected, we start regaining some of those abilities. Since the Bible is using the same exact language as is in the Sumerian tablets, it obviously is a copy of earlier text, written thousands of years before the Bible was even thought of.
Yeah.
So there is a problem here. And that is something that I think people should start looking into. See, the church is built on the same principle as government. They have the same structure. Go and look at the definition of, oh God, here we go. The definition of a cult. Most churches fit the definition, and so does the definition of government. It fit the definition. So we got to start thinking of our own. Even though the church can be a strange place, but it's a good place. A lot of good people go there. There's unity of mind. And there's often unity in prayer. And this can be powerful. And it works on the same principle as the mastermind. The mastermind principle is that when two or more minds are united in harmony, they create a third mind, which has the potential mind power of the two or more minds united and multiplied by each other. Think about that. When 5 people get together and join minds on a special, let's call it a problem-solving project, they have the problem-solving capacity of 25 people.
Yeah, it is also related to the minority rule. I think it is 10% of a society, if they get together and they think the same thing in the same moment, they can influence the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. You can really do that. You can affect and have an influence on a large amount or a large body of people.
Yeah, that's true.
I tell you, we have about 5 minutes left of the show. There is one quick story that I want to tell you, and I think I mentioned it before on a show or two, but it's important that we can really see the capacity of what we can do. Many of us is familiar with Art Bell. He had a show for 20-some years, and I listened to it most of those years. On one show, I heard him say something incredible, because there were drought in Texas. They were so dry that cattle was drying. The land was drying up. There were brush fires and forest fires everywhere. Texas was burning up. And Art Bell asked the people on his radio show, and there could be anything from 5 to 20 million people listening at any time. He asked them, think of rain over Texas. Visualize rain over Texas. And I was listening that night, and I did that, and millions of other people did that. And that later that night, you started to get thunderstorms in Texas. The next day, there were thunderstorms everywhere. And the brush fires, or most of it, was put out. They got rain. And that next day, people came on, the weather forecasters came on the air and said, we got some rain finally. This was great, but there was no moisture in any of the computer models anywhere. This should not have happened, but it did. We don't know why. They were flabbergasted. They could not understand where the rain came from. Well, I know where it came from, and I think another 5 to 20 million people know where it came from.
Yeah.
It came from the mastermind that we created that night. And that's something to think about. This can be done individually within the family. You get together. If there's something that you need or want to have happen, brainstorm it and visualize it into existence as a family. You can do it as a community. You can do it as at a state level. You can do it as in a country. We just proved how it works for a country. The American people did not want World War III, which we would have gotten if the other one had got into the White House. We solved that problem as a nation, and we can do it globally. And I think we're doing that.
Yeah, you know what I think? I think that the problem of the humans are that they are looking for rules. And as soon as you put rules, put label and name, you will change the essence. So I think if we could drop the rules and simply tap in our infinite inner potential that was already given to us and waiting for us to access, then it will be only allowed. So we can have everything without rules.
Absolutely. The laws are the chains of, well, I don't even want to go there, but these rules we are talking about, if people think of themselves and their neighbor as one, why would we want to hurt our neighbor if we know we're hurting ourselves?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I think we're getting down to the last end of the show here, so we should probably call it quits for now, and then we will be back next week, right?
Yeah.
And we will have another guest next week, and this guest is going to be very interesting. He's going to deal with your health. Anybody with health problems, so if you know anybody with health problems, maybe you should get them to listen. So I guess we will call it over for now, and then we will see you next week, same time, same place. and we will be here.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you now. Bye-bye.